Anthony Joshua, and I think a lot of people might not know this out there, but Anthony Joshua said that if he was to fight you, he would splatter you all over the ring. But even at that point, but he said he'd never touch you in prime James Toney. What's your response to that?
Are you kidding me? The guy's a coward. Man, he ain't. As much as I like the kid, I never seen him derogatory towards him like that. But since he put it out there like that, I would have f***ed him up.
Hey mate, I can beep you out. You can say whatever you want, mate.
I'm sorry. The guy. When he fought Ruiz, in the ring match, he was scared. You cannot. If you boxing, you can't fight scared. If you fight scared, you're going to get knocked out eventually. You saw what happened the first time. When he came to the States, he got knockked out.
How do you feel you would have...
Hey, Joshua couldn't know with me. Especially in the early 2000s, I would have killed him. I was in jail for manslaughter.
How do you feel you'd have dealt with Anthony Joshua in your prime at the heavyweight? Do you think he would have lived with you?
5 rounds.
You stopped him in 5?
5 rounds.
Nice.
The same way I did Holyfield, the same way I did and John Reeves, man, embarrassment. I'm embarrassing. I'm embarrassing now. If we want to do that, we can do that.
Wow. Those are the words of James Lights Out Toney, as he states that Anthony Joshua was a coward. Now, mind you, this was only because of what the reporter, some reporters instigate and they replay information that someone said. That's what they do. They recount quotes on what a fighter said. Now, I never personally heard Anthony Joshua say that he's going to splatter, or he would splatter James Toney, right, across the ring. But if that's true, wow, those are some harsh words anyway, But James Toney, first of all, coming from Detroit, Grand Rapids, Michigan, the Michigan area, the Michigan State, there's some tough fellas up there, And one thing about James Toney, he's always had this, but he's always had these, okay? And he was a guy that was impossible to hit. His defense was impregnable, okay? He was a kind of fighter that you had problems with, even though I don't even think he should have been at heavyweight, honestly. I don't think he should have been there. I think that's where most of his damage he took, because he had no business being at heavyweight anyway. However, he would have gave a lot of fighters problems, and he did, in fact, give a lot of fighters problems. He stopped Holyfield. I know it was an older Holyfield. He still did it, nonetheless. Okay? Look what he did in smaller weight classes at light heavyweight. What's the fighter's name? I forget his name right off the top of my head. I probably will remember by the end of this video. But he gave a lot of people problems. John the Quiet Man Ruiz, he took him to, he had those fights with the Nigerian, what is it? It's fleeting me. But he had his time at heavyweight. Did he belong there? No. I think this was because, Anthony Joshua knows James Toney. They've taken pictures together and all that stuff. He's met him at the gym. For him to say that would be a kind of harsh. But, of course, if he did say that, you got it coming. James Toney is going to talk back. James Toney is the same guy that was going to slap coaches around the ring, get into brawls. He didn't care. His mouth, he's Detroit. He's Grand Rapids. He's that dude. Okay, so if you have something to say about him, he's got a lot to say back to you, and if you want to take it further, he's going to do so. Just like he said, I'll beat Anthony Joshua right now. Look, that's just ridiculous. I think he needs to join the Legions Only league, right? Mike Tyson's league. I think he should join that if he wants to fight again, honestly. I don't think him. I don't think Holyfield. I don't think Rocky Balboa either. None of these guys should be fighting because they're suffering from the punch drunk syndrome already. Okay? The syndrome, you can see his mouth, his lisp. You know, that's how it starts. You know, slurred speech, those things. James Toney is a result of that. Okay? That's why I feel a lot of that came from his time at the heavyweight division. Okay, it came at that time. James Toney saying that he would give Anthony Joshua problems. He would have gave Anthony Joshua problems because if Andy Ruiz can, he could. Okay, that's a fact. I mean, I'm not contesting that. But the way James Toney, if he went down with bigger punchers, okay, he's that type of dude. He, again, fought at a weight class to show he was the best. He had some very great techniques. You know, the Philly shell, you know, the crossover. He did that. You know, he was the dude that did that. Okay? I mean, just for shits and giggles, Samuel Peters, you know, he had 2 losses to Samuel Peters. Samuel Peters was a huge Nigerian puncher. Okay? Hasim Rahman, he had a draw. John Ruiz was a no contest. Evander Holyfield, he beat Evander Holyfield. The silly draw. That's the fighter that I wanted to tell you about. Okay? That was that type of fight where he was probably the best and he probably needed to stay at lightweight to cruiserweight. Now, when he went up to heavyweight, that's where he was going too far. But someone like Anthony Joshua, you know, fighting someone like James Toney in their prime, Anthony Joshua, as you heard that reporter say, that Joshua admitted, I might not even been able to touch him. So it wasn't really any disrespect. Now, I haven't heard Anthony Joshua say that. So there's no telling if the reporter was just instigating, because you know reporters do that from time to time. Well, you know, this guy said this about you. What do you say? Right? So it's one of those situations it could have been. Because, you know, the guy was having, you know, a blast. I think he was, you know, having too much of a blast just hearing James Toney pop off. Because you know if you say anything about James Toney with his ego, you're going to catch it. Now, let me counterpunch the rematch with Ruiz. Did he fight Ruiz scared? He didn't fight Ruiz scared. He fought Ruiz cautious. A lot of people might felt he was overcautious. But a lot of pressure was something that Anthony Joshua did not dismiss. He admitted there's a lot of pressure for me to win. You know, I gotta get these belts back. I didn't know who I was really fucking with, you know, until, you know, it was too late. So I think he fought him cautiously because he knew, hey, I could outbox this guy. Let me do that. Let me keep my distance. And that's what it was. So him saying he would have eventually got knocked out, that's absolute bollocks, because if that was the case, Andy Ruiz would have took it to him. Obviously, there was a reason Andy Ruiz didn't engage, right? Okay, he respected the punching power coming back from Joshua. So that's not going to be the case. Someone that's coming in boxing, he's not going to come in there and do the same silly shit that he did the first fight, because that was the same reason he got hurt. He got caught. He was bending down trying to fight this guy that was this much taller than him. Okay? And he gave that guy advantage. Now, if you want to be an idiot, do that. That's my counterpunch to James Toney. But James Toney, again, is one of those guys, if you say something's foul or he takes offense, be prepared to be offended. But anyway, that's my counterpunch on James Toney calling Anthony Joshua a coward. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.